Hey everybody, I'm sorry we needed to ditch Facebook Live today because it basically failed both Nicole and I. So say hi, Nicole. Hey. We decided to talk about niche, to niche or not to niche, what it even means, and how it's potentially a really awesome idea for business growth for all of us. And clearly I have a niche, and a lot of us do, but I really wanted to get Nicole's thoughts about this, and so I'm going to throw over to you, Nicole, to introduce yourself and just give us your sort of philosophy around niching.
Hi everybody, thanks for having me, Jenny. My business is Courageous You, but I call myself the Biz Bestie to support who are starting up or starting over in their business or new, to come up with their purpose, niche and messaging. And I think the three of them are very important. They all run together, but they all need to be looked at separately. And that was where Jenny and I were having the conversation of having your purpose and passion as important as having a niche, because they both run together. I think that's where our conversation got to, Jenny.
I'm just muting myself in between because it makes the sound better, and I'm on a really busy road. I'm in Bentley at the Holistic Business Club working today, so you might hear some trucks flinging past. I remember that the question that you posed on your business page, and make sure that you put the link to, you can put the link to your business page in the post when I post this video, might be helpful for people, was how do you choose your niche? Do you choose it based on who do you want to serve, or do you choose it based on what you want to do? And I have my opinion about that, but I would love you to answer that question.
Okay. My reasoning behind it, I believe your niche is about who you're serving and what their problem is. And that's where you and I, our discussion started. I believe it's very important before you niche to understand your purpose. And Jenny, you're very clear on your purpose of why you're doing what you're doing. And even if you weren't being the visibility coach, you would still be living in your purpose, I would assume. So being in love and passionate with your purpose and being aligned with it, it doesn't matter what your niche is, because you're still living the life you want to live, and you've done your training and you're an expert in what you're doing. So those wording around your niche, you don't have to be afraid of. It is just saying to your customer that I want you to be my customer, I'm loyal to you, and this is my expertise that I'm bringing to you, the person. And it just lets them identify with you.
So if I said that my purpose, apart from needing to be available for the boys, actually, Nicole, I'll get you to mute for a minute because the sound keeps popping in. My purpose was always to, if I look back at everything I've done in my life, when I am at my absolute best, there is no doubt that I am with people, I am with groups of people, and I am teaching people. That is what I'm here to do. There is no doubt in my mind about that. And my purpose around that was to bring things in easy, teach people in a way that it makes sense for them. So I'm very audience focused, always audience driven, very much outside of my own kind of ego and in the group of people that I'm with at the time. And the reason that I decided to work for myself was what you were saying, Nicole, was that I really, really struggled to work for other people. It was about 3.5 years ago, and it was a pretty horrible experience. And my kids really suffered when I worked full time. And I realised that there's already enough conflict in my life with ex and my kids, and struggling with all of that, to then have to do that for someone else that I didn't really value and want to grow with that person. They didn't want to grow in that organisation, and I end up working for someone else's brand, which didn't sit well with me. So that's why I changed to what I'm doing now. But Nicole and I kind of disagree a little bit in that I believe unless you know what you truly love to do, which I guess you're calling is the purpose, whereas I've always called it your niche, is that if you truly, know what you are truly good at and what you love to do, then who you serve kind of is part of that discussion. Because if I choose, for me, it was about teaching people in business. So my purpose was being able to translate some potentially difficult things for people to learn about themselves and in their businesses So that became my niche. So it suits all of my skills and abilities to talk about video marketing and presenting to camera. So I think we're kind of on the same wavelengths, but what you call purpose, I think I was thinking was my niche.
Yeah, you're right, Jenny. It's very similar. We're speaking about the same things, but calling it different. And the reason I separated it is because people are frightened to niche because they think they're going to lose customers. So that's why I don't want to tell people that their purpose is like, I don't want people to think their purpose is wrong. And a lot of the time people are saying you're not niching. Well, you're not, your purpose isn't wrong. Why you're doing what you're doing, there is no right or wrong. And if you're passionate and an expert in it, then you're right. And I think when we talk about niche, it's about languaging and wording and how it's going to create a powerful message. So I really don't want people to walk away going, well, she thinks my niche is shit. Or, you know, the self-esteem level of people going, I'm really good at helping people. And then someone goes, well, that niche isn't good enough. You've got to niche down.
Now I'm really getting it now, because I'm going to reflect a couple of things that have happened in this group lately. When people join this group, they, I'll just get you to mute, Nicole. When people join this group, they fill in a bit of detail for me about their business. And time and time and time again, what I'm reading is actually a purpose, not a business. So I'm reading a purpose statement that says, I serve women to live their best life. Okay, actually that's your purpose, my darling, that is not your business. So now I'm really starting to understand that the purpose is the purpose. That's entirely up to you, and that is all yours, and you totally own it. What I'm suggesting now is we work out the language around who you're serving and what you actually do for them, which is way more compelling in terms of building a business than just telling me your purpose. Does that make sense?
It's really important to separate the two, because it is our purpose is our passion, but our niche is the vehicle of how we're going to get customers or clients. And people are so afraid to niche because they are afraid that they will alienate someone. But we can't actually serve trying to serve everybody, we serve nobody.
Yeah, I'm absolutely loving that. It's really making so much more sense to me. So so let me just reflect in terms of feeling like you're going to lose clients. What I find time and time again, I've spoken to hundreds and hundreds of women in the last 3 years that are in business, and I find when I get a generic message about I empower women to build their, live their best life, and that's a really common purpose that a lot of us have, I still don't know who I'm supposed to refer to you. So if I've got 10 people in my group and you've all said exactly the same thing to me about your business, it is almost impossible for me to know who who should be your client. Whereas I want to just explain something about, an example would be Eliana, who is a stylist. And what Eliana says about being a stylist is that she serves women who are going through major transformation in their lives. Fabulous. I know someone who has, been through surgery and they're really struggling with what to wear now, or, they've just been through a divorce and now they're kind of trying to find themselves again. Absolutely makes sense to me now. Whereas another stylist said to me that she helps us be reintroduced to ourselves, who we were, who we are, rather than in the context of being a mum or whatever. Great. That's going to resonate with certain people that I know that would go with that stylist instead. And so I think that the messaging and the relief actually that it brings to have a niche and know exactly who you want to talk to and exactly who you serve is really powerful in the way that you speak, in the way that people perceive you online and in person. Whereas if you say generic things like, I help businesses make the most of their time in their day, it's like, nah, yeah, all right, but kind of everybody can do that. So where are you sitting in that? Where's your expertise that's telling me exactly what sort of clients I'm supposed to refer to you? That to me is powerful for us, but it's also powerful in yourself because you know exactly what you're going to talk about. You don't have to try and be all things to all people, because that is actually not serving anyone really well. How do you feel about that, Nicole? Is that true?
Yeah, I would use you as an example. You're a visibility coach who works with women. you're not excluding men if they come in. You actually do work with men, but your message is to women because we relate to what you say. You will bring in a story about your boys. You live your niche, so then we actually relate to you. So we know we're your customers. The people in your group know we're your clients because you understand where we're going and how we're doing that. So it's really important. And if to niche is just to love your customers more. It really is just to create that clientele that love you more. You know, not every client is ever going to be your client. Not every client is going to like you. It's not anything personal. It is just you're not there to serve them right now. One day they might come and be your niche because their lifestyle will change. In a stylist, we need a stylist when we're young, one to bring us back when we're aging. So we would change stylists. So people, by having that specific message, people will remember to come back to you as well.
So what are some of the questions that that I've been asked in the past? I've been on a panel discussion at CopyCon last year talking about niching and whether it, you know, what is a niche? And there were things like industry niches, gender and demographic based niches. What do you feel are some examples of what a niche is?
A niche for me, because I work with women and I actually work with women who work by themselves in startup or newly established. So my questions are around that. What is it? So we always talk about your purpose. What is it that you do love? What is it that you can bring? But remember that people are going to come to you to solve a problem. They actually don't care what problem you solve. They don't care how you fix that problem, sorry. They do care the problem you're going to solve. So the question is, what problem do you solve? So for me, I solve that your purpose, your niche, your messaging. So you have that powerful message to go in and create that everybody knows who you are. And you're not going to change that. For you, it is that you help people with visibility with low tech. You know, women with low visibility with low tech. So that's the problem you solve. So it's very important that we work out the problem you solve. It doesn't matter how you do it because people don't care. If they did care how you did it, they would go back to school or do whatever and actually do the education you've done. So it's very much about losing the ego in how much you can provide, but what you are going to provide.
Perfect. Yeah, that's great. That's really great. Thank you. And what's interesting is then when people come to me and say, actually, I really need you to help me with my storyboards and editing, of course I can do that tech. Of course I know how to use bots and I know how to help do all that stuff, but it's not the major part of my brand because I want everyone to be able to access video marketing in a way that really suits them. So you're absolutely right. I really love that. Nicole, can you see some of the comments in the group on the original post? That do we need to answer any questions from in there?
Yeah, I do. I have a question from Sue McLeod, so I'm just going to read that. So excuse me while I'm not looking at you. Around my topic of focusing on helping women uncover their emotional reasons for weight, body, and visibility issues, I keep on not being sure about focusing on professional women, busy entrepreneurs versus making it open to all women, but have a story and a past experience of attracting too many women that can't afford me. Hence the focus on business women, but it also feels limiting. So I would, first of all, we would know each other and we would be discussing this a lot further. But by saying that that's limiting, you need to choose your client, whether it be somebody who can afford you or not, because I think in this day and age, we actually, if we want a service, we do find a way to pay for it being in business. And especially in the groups we're in. Most of us, if we need a service and it is important to us, we will find a way to pay for it. So the pay scale is something that I am dubious about talking about because it does become something that holds you back from who you serve. If I serve startups, and you know, I originally was afraid of that because startups don't have money, you know, because they're starting up money. But my service is a value to them in starting up their business. So it was actually that I had to lose my baggage around who I could serve and how I could serve them. What do you think, Jenny?
Yeah, I really love that. I agree with you that if we start making our decisions about who can or can't pay, it does actually start taking away from what you offer, because I think what Sue offers should be accessible to whoever wants it, because the language actually won't change much based on whether I'm a businesswoman or not, because what you're offering, Sue, is something that we have so much in common, businesswomen, non-business women, whatever, that the language you choose to use will encourage all of us. Now, whether I can afford to pay or not is not your problem. And I think that you could always, if that starts to become obvious, that there's another product somehow that you can create that someone with less money could access or something like that. But yeah, I think that that's not your problem. Actually, your problem is making sure that your messaging is clear to the people who need you, and if they want to pay, they'll pay. Is that fair enough to say?
I agree with you. We have to be careful not to create niche baggage as well. So when creating a niche, don't create problems that you've foreseen, because it's not yours to create. It's yours to create a person who you can solve their problem. And don't take away from somebody who may want to work with you, their choice of working with you, because you think on an economic level.
Because then we're making assumptions about who's got money and who hasn't. And again, that takes you away from your core focus. So it's important just to really stick to your own game plan around what it is, what do I offer, and when the people that need you, based on language that you use and the problems that you solve for them, they'll pay or they won't pay. And that's another thing altogether. Is there any other questions?
There is another, but can I just touch on what you just said? Languaging is super important, and this is where your niche comes down. Your clients will come to you because of what the niche is. When they come to you, listen to how they describe their problem. Because I did 30 interviews and nobody uses coaching terminology. So my languaging was always to other coaches. They're not going to buy my services. So it's very important when you're messaging to people that you use their language. If they don't use the word low confidence, invisibility, Jenny, you say, are you scared? Are you, anxiety and all of that sort of stuff. You don't actually use the words you may use in the business. You don't use business jargon. So just touching on that, you will attract your clients by the language you use. If you notice certain words that they're using, make sure you include that in your message. And I'll just check on the messages while you have a chat on that.
So, Nicole, I'll get you to, I'm going to put some notes in the description, of course, for everybody. I'm writing notes as Nicole speaks, but is there another question? Let's move to the next one.
There's one more question. It's from Linda. Recently, I heard the approach of getting really clear on your values and then attracting clients with similar values compared to a 30-something blonde with blue eyes, demographic, etc. Can you chat about choosing your niche in line with your values and then the benefits? So, Linda, I'm unfortunately not on, so I can't check on this. I believe if your purpose is clear, your values will be in that. I've set my purpose similar to around Jenny's, that it is to be home for my children and make their life easier. It is also to make sure that all the business women do have the strength inside them to do what they want to do. So that is my values of strength and family and love and loyalty. So I believe if you believe in your purpose, your values are actually going to come through with that anyway. What are your thoughts on that, Jenny?
Values are really interesting, aren't they? Because I would love to know from Linda an example of a value that she has in her business that she feels she wants to attract people with that value. I probably need a little bit more information. But if
sharing from the heart and storytelling. Linda's a storyteller. That's part of her niche, that she's teaching people to tell their business story.
Okay. So if you really value the power of heartfelt stories and sharing those with generosity and with compassion and love or whatever, I believe you will. That comes across in the language that you use in your business, and you'll attract people who who have similar mindset. That's what I think. So if I said things like, and I say this fairly regularly, you know, you need to own your expertise, bring to you all the things that you're actually really fantastic at, and share that value through your own personality and your way that you speak, and that will attract the right people to you. Now, if I meet a businessman and he thinks that is an absolute load of rubbish, he won't be my client, because he doesn't value the way that I just explained what I do around messaging, as an example. One of my values is generosity, that I am a generous person. I really value generosity in other people. And so if I worked with someone who is really stingy, you can start seeing that really early on in the relationship, that they don't want to give you information, that they don't perhaps want to pay on time, and you start seeing that they don't share that value, then you don't end up working with them. And I think that it has maybe an organic way of sort of happening. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I agree. I think your values are going to come through your purpose, your niche, and your messaging. And it is something that is organic, that people will relate to how you word things and all of that. Like the offers that you put up, Jenny, are generous. You don't actually say, okay, I'm going to come, you know, do this, but I'm only going to be there for this time. At your workshop, it's like, this is what we'll do, and then you stay around for an hour to answer everyone's questions and so forth. So I do believe it is just something we become, not something we have to stay. It is who we are.
Yeah, that's great. All right. Well, we've got lots of information out today, and I might wrap it up so the video is not too long for everybody to watch back later. And this is just an example of, we wanted to go live. The technology sort of failed us, so we decided to jump on a Zoom and record it instead. But I'll put some notes in the group. Nicole's going to share her business page for you in the notes as well, so that you can find Nicole and ask her some more questions about your own purpose, niche, and messaging, because those three things are core to actually building your business. If you haven't got those three cornerstones in place, and finances too probably, then you're going to really struggle to attract the clients that you really want to work with and build your business. And I really, really believe that. I think those three, you know, Nicole and I are really on the same page around purpose. Message for me is what Nicole calls language, messaging and language. And that I'm more than happy for you to say, this is what I stand for in your marketing, because people will know exactly where you're coming from. That's how lay it all out I am sometimes. I think it can really make it easy for people to decide whether they are or they're not going to be your client. And it does take a bit of courage if you're sort of feeling you're starting out and you want to try and attract new clients, but that confidence really does come through taking action in our businesses. So
can I just add that, Jenny, with what you've said, and it makes you love your business, because businesses, nobody's actually going to say, none of us are going to say you're in business and it's going to be all hunky-dory and easy, because sometimes it is exhausting and tiring. But if you've got those three things in line, you're able to come and work with you and be confident in what you're saying, but you actually enjoy and be passionate about what you do. So when the funds aren't there, or it does get exhausting, you actually still believe what you want to do, and you still do it with love and pride.
that is so important. And I know, you know, in the middle of the night and you wake up and you worry about money, or you're worried about, you know, stuff you didn't get done during the day, or that you've got parent-teacher interviews or whatever, you still know that you're doing the right stuff. You still know that you're working on the right stuff. So I think that's awesome. So let's leave it there, and I'll say goodbye, and I'll let Nicole say see you later as well. And we'll be posting this in the group. If you've got any more questions when you see this post, you can still ask some questions, and we'll pop back in over the next few days and answer some as well. So I'll say goodbye, and I'll hand it over to you, Nicole, and then I'll finish.
Thanks, ladies and gentlemen. It was great speaking to you, Jenny. Thank you for the opportunity, and please do ask questions, and we'd love to answer them. Bye.